"Could you dance with me? My ex is watching," she whispered, unaware he was her billionaire. Boss, some nights change everything, not because of what you planned, but because of what your heart whispered when fear was too loud. This was one of those nights. A crowded ballroom, a trembling breath, and a stranger's hand that felt like safety. Isabelle Carter stood at the edge of the ballroom, clutching a half-empty glass of champagne she had stopped tasting 10 minutes ago. The glow of golden chandeliers painted the grand Viridian Hall in warm, deceptive light, the kind that made every smile seem effortless, every success story rehearsed. But Isabelle's heart wasn't in the celebration. This was supposed to be her night, her first major appearance since joining Crawford Innovations as the lead event strategist. After 3 years of hustling through low-paying freelance gigs, tonight was proof that she had finally made it. Or so she kept telling herself. Then she saw him, Liam Hayes, her ex, the man who had once told her that her dreams were cute but not sustainable, the same man who had laughed when she said she'd work with million-dollar brands someday. Now he stood across the room, laughing easily, his arm resting on another woman's chair, confident, polished, untouched by guilt. Isabelle froze mid-step. Her pulse quickened, her throat tightening like someone had reached in and pressed pause on her breath. "Hey," said a voice beside her. "You look like someone just walked over your grave." It was Maya, her best friend, her only anchor in this ocean of suits and sequins. "Worse?" Isabelle muttered, eyes locked on Liam. "My ex is here." Maya followed her gaze, lips curling. "Oh, that one. The motivational speaker of doom." Isabelle laughed weakly. "He's talking to the VP of marketing." "Of course he is. Probably trying to pitch his new podcast about male confidence or something." "Then let him. You're the one who got the job," Maya said, nudging her shoulder. "You earned your place here. Don't let his ghost ruin your moment." Isabelle exhaled, tried to smile, but as the band shifted to a slow, intimate tune and couples drifted toward the dance floor, she caught sight of Liam turning, his gaze locking onto hers. And for a second that smirk returned, the one that once made her feel small, and she knew he was walking toward her. Isabelle's hand trembled around her glass. "Don't panic," Maya whispered. "Just pretend you're busy, or talk to someone, anyone." But Isabelle's brain had already begun to fog. The years of being belittled, of second-guessing herself, came flooding back like static through her veins. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Liam was closing in, all charm and arrogance in a crisp navy suit. And that's when she saw him, a tall man standing near the bar, his posture calm, his expression unreadable. He wasn't part of any circle, just observing quietly, the kind of presence that didn't need to fill space to own it. Before she could talk herself out of it, Isabelle crossed the room, nearly tripping over her heels. She stopped just short of him, her pulse wild. "Could you—" She swallowed hard, eyes darting toward Liam, who was only steps away now. "Could you dance with me? My ex is watching." The stranger turned. His eyes were an impossible blue, deep, steady, and somehow kind. A small crease formed between his brows as though he was assessing the situation. Then, without hesitation, he smiled. "Of course." He set his drink down and offered his hand. "Let's give him a show." Relief flooded her chest as she took it. His hand was warm, grounding. The kind of touch that said, "You're safe here, even if we've never met." As he led her onto the dance floor, Isabelle caught Liam's confused expression in the corner of her eye. A wave of satisfaction rippled through her, small but real. "Thank you," she whispered. "You just saved me from a complete meltdown." "Happy to help," he said lightly, though his gaze lingered on her face, curious. "I'm Daniel." "Isabelle." Daniel's lips curved. "Well, Isabelle, you don't seem like someone who needs rescuing." She let out a nervous laugh. "You'd be surprised." The band swelled behind them, and as they began to move, slowly, gracefully, the rest of the ballroom blurred into a soft hum. For the first time in years, Isabelle felt seen. Daniel's hand rested gently at the small of her back, guiding her as if they'd rehearsed this moment 1,000 times before. "So," he murmured, voice low enough for only her to hear, "tell me about this ex who inspires dramatic rescues." Isabelle winced. "Oh God, not the best topic for small talk," he chuckled. "Fair. But I'm curious about the kind of man who'd make you look like your heart's fighting your brain." She sighed. "We dated for 3 years. He's successful, charming, but he made me feel like my dreams were always a step too far. Like I was lucky he tolerated them." Daniel's jaw tightened, though his expression stayed calm. "Sounds exhausting." "It was," she said softly. "When we broke up, I thought I'd never find my confidence again. But I did. Or at least, I'm trying to." Daniel met her gaze. "You don't have to try so hard. Confidence isn't loud." Their eyes locked. A quiet moment that felt heavier than the music around them. Isabelle's breath caught. The world had shifted. She hadn't meant to ask a stranger for help tonight. And yet something about Daniel's steady energy made her wonder if maybe, just maybe, not all men were built to break you first. The song slowed, and she almost stepped away, embarrassed by how intimate it suddenly felt. But Daniel didn't move. "You're good at this," she murmured. "So are you," he said, smiling faintly. "Must be all the corporate galas you don't enjoy," she laughed. "Exactly one, actually." This one, the music faded into applause. Daniel guided her off the floor, his hand brushing hers. Not intentionally, but enough to make her heart skip. "Would you like a drink?" he asked. "I probably shouldn't," she said, glancing over her shoulder. "Liam was gone, but yes, I think I've earned one." As they walked toward the bar, neither noticed the subtle glances from the board members nearby, or the quiet whisper among them. "That's him. Daniel Crawford. The CEO." The rest of the night unfolded like a dream Isabelle didn't know she'd needed. Daniel was funny, grounded, and surprisingly attentive. He didn't interrupt. Didn't correct her. When she spoke about her work, he listened like her words mattered. Like she mattered. "So what brings you to this event?" she asked, swirling her glass. He tilted his head. "I suppose you could say it's personal." "Personal?" He smiled, evasive but warm. "My company sponsors part of the evening. I like to see where the funds go." "That's admirable," she said. "I work for Crawford Innovations, actually." "Event strategy." Daniel blinked, a flicker of amusement passing across his face. "You do?" "Just started 3 weeks ago," she said proudly. "Haven't met Mr. Crawford yet, though. Rumor is he's some mysterious billionaire who hides behind emails." Daniel coughed, trying not to laugh. "Maybe he's shy. A billionaire? Doubt it. Probably just too busy changing the world." He raised his glass. "You sound like you'd give him a run for his money." "I intend to," she said playfully. As the band played its final song, Daniel checked his watch. "I should let you enjoy your night. But I hope this won't be the last time we dance," she smiled. "Me too." They parted at the ballroom doors, Isabelle's heart unexpectedly heavy. As she turned to wave one last time, Daniel was already gone, swallowed by the golden crowd. Monday arrived with the dull ache of reality. Isabelle rushed into the boardroom, hair still damp from the morning rain, clutching her notes for the quarterly presentation. Her supervisor, Victoria, shot her a look. "Rough weekend?" "You could say that," Isabelle muttered, taking her seat. The meeting began, charts, projections, polite applause. And then the door opened. "Good morning, everyone," came a calm voice. The room stilled. Isabelle froze mid-page. Standing at the head of the table was Daniel. Except this wasn't Daniel from the gala. This was Daniel Crawford, her CEO, her mysterious billionaire boss. Their eyes met, his calm, hers wide with disbelief. For a second, the air between them thickened with unspoken realization. "Please," he said smoothly, gesturing toward her, "don't let me interrupt." "Miss Carter, I believe you were about to present your proposal?" And Isabelle, whose knees suddenly felt like air, realized that fate had an inconvenient sense of humor. Isabelle's fingers gripped her pen tightly as the world tilted sideways. Her heart pounded so loudly she was sure everyone could hear it. Daniel, or rather, Mr. Crawford, was sitting calmly at the head of the table, the same easy confidence in his posture, but now it carried a different kind of weight. Authority. The same man who had laughed softly at her jokes now commanded silence with a single glance. Her mind replayed every word she'd said at the gala, probably too busy hiding behind emails. Some mysterious billionaire. She wanted the floor to open up beneath her. "Miss Carter," Victoria's voice snapped her back. "Right?" Isabelle said, clearing her throat. "Thank you." She forced a professional smile, flipping to her first slide. "Our new partnership proposal for the Summit campaign is centered on authentic storytelling and emotional impact." Her voice trembled only slightly at first. Daniel's gaze never wavered. Calm, attentive, maybe even supportive. But every time their eyes met, Isabelle's composure faltered. Her palms grew damp, her pulse erratic. When the presentation ended, polite applause filled the room. Victoria nodded approvingly. "Excellent work, Isabelle. I believe this direction reflects the company's evolving values perfectly." Daniel stood buttoning his jacket. "Agreed." His voice was even, unreadable. "Ms. Carter, your perspective on authenticity is refreshing. Let's discuss this further later this week." "Of course," she managed. The meeting dispersed. Executives filed out, murmuring to one another about projections and launches. Isabelle gathered her papers slowly, hoping to slip away unnoticed. But then his voice came again. "Isabelle." She turned. He was standing by the window now, hands in his pockets, city light casting sharp lines across his features. "I owe you an apology," he said simply. She blinked. "You for what?" "For not introducing myself properly that night." Isabelle's breath caught. You knew who I was?" He hesitated. "I did, eventually. But I wanted to see who you were without the title." For a moment, neither spoke. The air hummed with quiet tension, not anger, but something fragile. "Next time," he said, his tone softening, "you won't have to whisper for help. You'll just ask." And then he walked out, leaving Isabelle frozen, unsure whether she'd just been comforted or warned. The days that followed were strange. Every time Isabelle crossed the polished corridors of Crawford Innovations, she felt the echo of that ballroom moment, his hand at her waist, his calm voice over the music. Daniel, on the other hand, became even harder to read. At meetings, he was composed, almost distant, but every now and then, when she spoke about creative direction or client narratives, she'd feel his gaze linger, quiet, thoughtful, as though he were remembering a different version of her. Maya noticed first. "Why is your boss looking at you like he knows your Spotify playlists?" Isabelle groaned. "Please don't start." "Oh, I'm starting," Maya said, leaning across her desk. "You danced with him at a gala before you knew who he was." "That's straight out of a movie." "It's straight out of a nightmare," Isabelle corrected. "He's my boss. And I practically begged him to dance to avoid my ex." Maya smirked. "And yet you're still blushing when you talk about it." Isabelle ignored her, but deep down she knew Maya was right. Something about Daniel unsettled her. Not in a bad way, but in a way that reminded her she still had a heart that wanted to trust again. That afternoon, she received an unexpected email. Subject: Project Phoenix. Private review. From Daniel Crawford. The message was brief. "Let's discuss your concept in person tomorrow, 9 a.m. My office." DC, her stomach flipped. She reread the email 5 times. Was this good, bad? The next morning she stood outside his office, smoothing her blazer with clammy hands. "Come in," his voice called. He looked up from his desk as she entered. Warm smile, no pretense. "Isabelle," he said. "Relax, you're not in trouble." "Could have fooled me," she muttered under her breath. He chuckled softly. "You remind me of someone who once told me I was probably too busy changing the world." Her face burned. "You remember that?" Every word. And before she could think of a reply, he said quietly, "You were right." For a moment the air between them seemed to still. "I was right?" Isabelle asked cautiously. Daniel leaned back in his chair, studying her with quiet intensity. "I've spent years building this company, chasing numbers and innovation. Somewhere along the way I stopped noticing people. You reminded me that authenticity doesn't start with branding, it starts with truth." His words were calm, but there was something behind them, a tiredness, maybe even regret. "I wasn't trying to teach you anything," she said softly. "I know," he replied. "That's why it mattered." He stood, moving toward the window that overlooked the skyline. The city shimmered beneath the morning sun, distant, endless. "I started Crawford Innovations at 28, he said, voice thoughtful. "Everyone called me a visionary, but vision can make you blind if you don't look sideways once in a while." Isabelle watched him quietly, sensing a rare vulnerability behind his confidence. He turned back to her. "When you danced with me that night, I hadn't done something that human in a long time." She felt a pang of something unnameable, sympathy maybe, or understanding. "I didn't expect the girl hiding from her ex to be the one who'd make me rethink my entire company," he added with a faint smile. "That's a lot of pressure," she said, half joking. "Good," he replied. "You handle pressure well." Her lips curved. "Flattery from a CEO, I'll take it." He grinned slightly, then nodded toward her file. "Let's finalize your campaign strategy. I want you leading Phoenix." She froze. "Lead? As in it's yours," he said simply. Her heart skipped. "I thank you." "For the record," he said, his tone softening, "you don't need someone to rescue you from your past, Isabelle. You already did that yourself." By the end of that week, Isabelle had become the quiet center of every office whisper. "Did you hear? She's working directly under Crawford now. They say he personally approved her campaign. Maybe she's just lucky." She tried to ignore it, but the looks followed her, admiration from some, suspicion from others. Maya caught her in the break room one afternoon. "You okay?" "I'm fine," Isabelle said, pouring coffee. "Everyone thinks I got here because of him. Let them think what they want. You earned this." Isabelle nodded, but the insecurity crept in anyway. She thought of Liam, of how he'd once told her no one would ever take her seriously in corporate spaces. She wanted to prove him wrong, not confirm his prophecy. That evening, Daniel found her still at her desk. The office was dark, city lights spilling through the glass walls. "You should go home," he said gently. She didn't look up. "Trying to prove something? To who?" "Everyone, myself, maybe both." He walked closer, leaning against her desk. "You don't have to outwork the world to deserve your place in it." She met his gaze. "Easy for you to say." "Maybe," he admitted. "But you forget I wasn't always this man." There was quiet between them. Not awkward, just human. Daniel picked up one of her design mock-ups. "Do you know what makes your work different?" "What?" "You don't sell dreams. You remind people they already had one." Something inside her broke open. The wall she'd built after Liam. After every rejection, every doubt, and in that silence, Isabelle realized she was no longer afraid of being seen. The next week brought chaos, meetings, deadlines, and one unexpected twist. Liam. He showed up at Crawford Innovations as part of a partner agency's pitch. Isabelle's stomach dropped when she saw him walk into the conference room, hand extended like they'd never met. "Ms. Carter," he said smoothly, pretending professionalism. "Didn't expect to see you here." "Life's full of surprises," she said evenly, though her voice trembled. The meeting began. Liam's pitch was decent, his confidence slick as ever. But as he spoke, Isabelle caught Daniel watching her, quiet, observant. Not protective, but aware. When it was her turn to present, she stood taller than she felt. She spoke clearly, her voice steady, her ideas sharp. And as she finished, she didn't look at Liam. She looked at Daniel. He nodded once, slow approval in his eyes. After the meeting, Liam cornered her near the elevator. "You really landed on your feet," he said. "I'll admit, didn't think you had it in you." Isabelle smiled faintly. "That's the thing, Liam. You never did." The elevator doors opened. Daniel stood inside, silent witness to the moment. She stepped in beside him, not looking back. As the doors closed, Daniel said softly, "That was graceful." "I wasn't trying to be," she replied. "I was trying to end something," he nodded. Sometimes endings are the most elegant dances. The music faded, and so did the distance between them. The world outside the glass walls was drenched in rain, but inside Emma's eyes shone with questions she couldn't hide anymore. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice trembling, Why did you leave that night?" "You just disappeared," he looked away. "Because if I had stayed, I would have broken both of us." Emma frowned. "You already did." He swallowed hard. "I wasn't the man you deserved then. I was broke, angry at life, trying to build something that didn't even exist yet. You wanted love. I wanted survival." She stared at him. Her heart wanted to hate him, but her eyes softened. He continued, "I thought if I made something of myself, maybe I'd come back for you. But by the time I did, you were gone. The ballroom was empty now. Only the soft hum of the chandeliers and the echo of their past lingered in the air." Emma stepped closer. "You built everything. You have everything. But you're still standing here, alone." Daniel's jaw clenched, "Because none of it means anything without you." For the first time his voice cracked, raw, human, broken. She took a deep breath. "You can't just walk back into my life with a tuxedo and a title." He nodded, tears glistening in his eyes. "Then let me walk beside you, as a man who finally learned what love means." Her lips parted, but no words came. Only silence, and the sound of her heart reminding her that forgiveness wasn't weakness. It was freedom. They stepped out of the hall together. The city was soaked. Lights blurred by raindrops, like a watercolor painting melting in motion. Daniel held out his coat, placing it gently over her shoulders. She didn't resist. They walked in silence, their reflections trailing behind on the wet pavement. Each step erased a little bit of the bitterness that had once chained their memories. Emma finally said, "You know, I never stopped looking for your name in the credits." He smiled softly. "And I never stopped hearing your voice in my head every time I almost gave up." A street musician strummed a slow tune under the glowing lamppost. Daniel paused, turning to her. "Can I ask you something?" Emma raised an eyebrow. "What?" He extended his hand, his smile faint, the same way he did years ago. "Could you dance with me?" Her breath caught. "My ex is watching?" She teased weakly. He laughed. "No, but the whole city might be." She hesitated, then placed her hand in his, and right there under the rain they danced again. Slower this time, softer, wiser. Not as who they were, but as who they'd become. The rain eased, but the moment didn't. Daniel brushed a strand of wet hair from her face. "If this is a dream, I don't want to wake up." She smiled faintly. "It's not. It's just life finally giving us a second chance." He kissed her forehead, gentle, thankful, and for once neither of them looked back. Sometimes, love doesn't come back the same way it left. It returns quieter, humbler, after life teaches you everything you tried to skip. Emma didn't need a billionaire. She needed the boy who once danced with her in a room full of strangers and made her feel like the only one. And he didn't need redemption. He just needed her to look at him and then see the man he had become. Because some dances never end, they just Pause.